Hello, and welcome to the Monster Painter. This time it's a classic source for super cheap miniatures, old used HeroClix, and the Facebook Marketplace. Now, a classic source of super cheap miniatures are those old Dungeons & Dragons board games. You got a lot in the box, and they weren't too expensive, but as time goes on, they are getting increasingly more scarce. But then, of course, you could always back a Kickstarter. The Bones series of Kickstarters are great. They get a lot of miniatures cheap. It's a big buy-in price, and you gotta wait a long time. And of course, anyone who goes after those cheap Kickstarters knows there can be some pretty serious delays and problems, and it is fraught with risk and peril. If you don't have the money for a big buy-in, or you're too impatient to wait a couple of years for your miniatures, you can turn to Amazon, which has a number of bargains like these Path miniatures. I got 50 models for 50 bucks Canadian. The quality is a bit spotty, but they're okay. Although maybe you don't want to give your money to a knockoff James Bond villain. So instead, we will employ the help of an even less charismatic James Bond villain and head over to the Facebook Marketplace. The trick is patience and persistence. Keep looking and wait for the right deal. Some people will ask crazy prices for this stuff. Just ignore them and keep digging for that cheap lot. All right, and that patience and persistence paid off for just a couple of funny colored Canadian dollar bills. I got myself a nice juicy sack of HeroClix. And yeah, it's a big pile. Let's see if we got anything good. So obviously a sack of random HeroClix miniatures is going to contain some stuff that we have no use for, including these beaten up old cards, because I'm not going to be playing HeroClix, and so the cards aren't of much use, but that's okay. We also get a really big pile of bases. These have already, the model is already busted off the base. Now that's okay, because we're going to get rid of all the bases, period. And in a way, this is good because the broken bases, or the models off the bases, indicates poor condition, which means a lower selling price, which is what we're after, because it's super cheap models we're going for. And yeah, this is already some of the work done for us. So hooray for the broken bases! Now, a problem with getting a random lot of HeroClix models is that some of them are going to be absolutely useless for fantasy or science fiction gaming, and the superheroes that are in flight are particularly, well, not very suitable for our purposes, as they are so super heroic. The guys who fly in science fiction and usually have jetpacks. So we got 3 guys in flight. The first 2 are kind of generic superheroes. I'm sure they have names and backstories and histories and secret identities and all that. And then we get one who is so famous and so iconic. He's so iconic, even his very pose is iconic. This guy could not be transformed into anything but what he is, or one of those satirical knockoffs that are also relatively common. But Superman is Superman and can only be Superman. I mean, that pose is like 80 years old and looks like as identifiable as anything in the world. Now, there's another class of difficult to use models, and that's the ones that are, you know, very superhero-y looking. They have all sorts of quirky superhero kind of flourishes, which makes them challenging to turn into anything but a superhero model. They might have some potential. I may be able to figure something out with them, but they are pretty superhero-y. And then we have a great big superhero girl. She's so big she's gonna fit in the background, because boy oh boy, yep, she's a big one. I'm not sure if I can make anything out of these 4. I might come up with something, but I'm not holding out a lot of hope. Then we get a bunch of guys who are very superhero-y, but I think might have a little bit of potential in a particular role, possibly. But I am not sure. Their utility is not very obvious, and they are going to be challenging models to turn into fantasy or science fiction. But I do have an idea, and we'll see if I can make it pan out. This guy, I used to collect his comic books. Booster Gold. Oh, so long ago. I don't think it's aged well, though. Next up, we get a couple of Captain America type characters, Bucky and I don't know who. I guess this is some iteration of Captain America. They're gun-toting. They can be squeezed into a sci-fi game, I think, pretty easily. I really like this chick with she's beating people with somebody's arm. I think that's kind of cool. I could see her being used as a thug or a barbarian for a Chronomancer's warband. But if you're going to do something like that, you gotta kind of talk to your opponents, because some people don't mind that kind of thing, and others it really irritates them. And we're supposed to have fun, so don't irritate your opponents, at least without having some dice rolls. Now, getting decidedly more useful, we have some gun-toting ladies, and the gun-toting ladies will make an easy fit. Once they're off their bases, they'll be fine science fiction or modern game models, although I must chastise the designer for this character. Was she Aphrodite? Yeah, that's pretty trashy and pretty terrible. But otherwise, you know, again, they'll be fine in science fiction settings or contemporary settings. They're not so iconographic that people will recognize them. With a different paint job, they'll just be generic ladies with guns. And one of the plus sides with these old comic book characters are they really sometimes lean into wonderful retro styles. HeroClix draws from some really old sources, and I love the Flash Gordon, Buck Rogers look of some of these guys. I mean, what fun! Perfect science fiction dudes, perfect bad guys. And I mean, these are from the Guardians of the Galaxy. This guy here and this guy are Guardians of the Galaxy dudes, or enemies. The Kree, I think, are what they're called, and they look so Flash Gordon, so Buck Rogers. I love the 50s style, and I'm gonna love plunking these down into a science fiction game because it's so much fun. Okay, a bit harder to deal with. We got some cat lady type characters. What is this? Tigra and Cheetah. I think it's Marvel and DC. Oh Lord, the creativity of it all. Yeah, I mean, I guess in a squint and a wink and a nod, they might be Tabexes, but or maybe were-tigers or something like that. But they're not awesome. They're not going to be the most useful. But that's okay. Getting a little bit more useful, we got ourselves a couple of robots, and a robot's a robot, and they'll be good as robots or constructs. None of them. There's no Iron Man here, so they're not so iconographic that you can't escape what they are. And well, this guy will make a good large construct, but I have to say this color scheme, which is clearly like a 4-color comic book color scheme, is a mother-loving eyesore. I mean, my God, that really hurts my eyes. That is terrible. Now I got some ones that ain't right but have potential. I mean, this guy is, what's he called? He's called Shadow Thief, and you know what? Yeah, he can work as a thief, sci-fi or otherwise. This big galoot, I really like. He's just going to be some kind of monstrous menace. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with him, but I am going to do something with him. And then we got this guy, Green Fellow. He can be a mutant of some sort in science fiction or fantasy. He's got some potential, so I don't mind him. Okay, so here we got a couple that I'm not sure if I can use. A Meltdown, I guess some sort of X-Men character anyway. She could be a wizard, it's hard to say.
not really inspiring me. And then this guy could be a wizard, but you know, I don't know. Wizards wearing tights. He has some sort of potential though, because he's got those flashy zappy things. So I'll have to give him some thought. But you know, I'm gonna have to give a lot of these guys thought. Now, I really believe a lot of these female superheroes really have a lot of potential as wizards and spellcasters of all sorts. I mean, they kind of, you know, the difference between superpowers and magic powers is thin at best, and so they are going to really make easy trips to the land of wizardry, I think, and leave behind their superheroics for good. And we get some more lady superheroes that could become wizards really easily, and lady superheroes that are probably already wizards. Raven from Teen Titans, love that character. And then we got this lady. She is an inch away from being a vampire, and so I think she's going to become a vampire. And then we got this old DC character. She is a wizard. Might be able to be used as a wizard, maybe an illusionist or a chronomancer in Frostgrave, or she could just be a cabaret character in a World War II setting. Maybe, I'm not sure. We're gonna have to see. So poor condition is our friend because it means that things are going to be a little less expensive, but it does mean that we're gonna have to do some repair work. And Raven here is just begging to be a wizard or sorcerer, and then we get this character. Her arm is a little off there, as you can see, but she's armed. She's got a shoulder plate, so she's got potential as a fantasy warrior of some sort. And then we have her. She's like a no-brainer monster. She's practically done, but her poor little arm is broken off. And so, again, she's going to take a little work, but she's going to be really rewarding once she's fixed up. Got a couple ladies here. At first glance, they don't look like they'll be much use, but because of how they're designed, she's passing through a wall apparently. I think with the right color scheme, they'll make a reasonably viable ghosts, maybe ghost pirates, because look at that, she's got a ghost or pirate shirt on. So yep, some potential as ghosts. We'll see if I can pull it off. Then we have some rather iconic looking guys. This guy is not Captain America, he's called U.S. Agent. I guess comic books are so frequently knocking off each other that they knock off themselves as well. But I think with a weapon in his hand, he might be quite suitable as a warrior and a lot of fun. And then we have Thor here, who again could be turned into a soldier. His hammer is really odd shaped though, but I don't think it'll be too much trouble. It's not going to bug me that much. Yep, plenty of potential. Now, with a sort of no-brainer potential, we got these two characters, and because they're armed with melee weapons, once they're off their bases, they really won't need much of a paint job to be at least marginally acceptable on a fantasy game table. And with a proper paint job, they might be quite convincing fantasy characters. Yep, no-brain potential. Good stuff. Further along the no-brain potential, you know, I know she's a little superhero-y looking, but still, drawing from Folklore, she looks like a djinn to me. Totally viable as a genie character or an elemental force of some sort. And then we got an angel or a demon, as the case may be, but she's got a lot of easy potential. A little more challenging is this great big dog. I like the sculpt, and I think given a more novel paint job, he will be quite a viable monster of some sort. But you know what's really monstrous? Oh, good lord. Check out her paint job. Poor girl. What a face. Now, of course, some supervillains are wizards and will make perfectly good wizards. I mean, he's going to work very simply. I think maybe toning down the costume, the 4-color paint job. And then this is Darkseid. He's a classic DC character, Jack Kirby science fiction kind of character. A personal favorite of mine, quite love him. Once he's off the base, I don't think I'm going to mess with the color scheme too much, and he's going to become a major demon in Frostgrave because he's born for the role. Now, frequently comic book characters do tend to draw a lot on folklore. And this Batman villain here, Poison Ivy, you know, she right off the base, she's probably going to make a completely convincing dryad or some sort of fae spirit luring you to your doom. And not so iconic. I mean, she's kind of an obscure one. And another obscure Batman villain is the Scarecrow, and this Scarecrow is a pretty good Scarecrow and will make a fine construct or menace or monster. His paint jobs are even pretty good. And then Killer Croc, yet another Batman villain, and he is even less iconic. I mean, he's a more obscure C-tier Batman villain, and he already looks like a troll. A cleaned up paint job, and he's gonna look awesome, I think. Alright, so that's how this giant gaggle looks at the beginning of the project. And now I gotta get to work on them to see if I can turn these into even reasonably approachable fantasy characters or tabletop soldiers or what have you. But yeah, it's super cheap, but there's gonna be a whole pile of work to get them even remotely presentable. And now it's time to get at that work.
Naturally, the first step in their reclamation is to get them off those clunky HeroClix bases. I cut them off with a utility knife, and then I scraped the old glue and paint off the connection point right down to the plastic. This will help give them a solid bond to their new bases. And for the love of God, be careful! The blades are sharp, and it is all too easy to draw blood!
I'm not surprised Poison Ivy cut ya. She's a femme fatale. They'll make you bleed every single time.
Thanks, Batman, and it's so true. Now that I've got a fresh Band-Aid on, I will finish scraping off that old glue and paint and score up the connection point, and Poison Ivy is ready for her new base. And they do look so much better on proper wargaming bases. And for some tastes, this is as far as you need to go. The factory paint job is good enough. I'm going to try to style them up and make these models pop a little more. Nothing fancy. I'm just going to add some paint and make them satisfactory to me personally. Now, if you really want to go at them, you can strip them and do head swaps and conversion works and really style them up. If you do want to go that road, I recommend you check out the YouTube channel Miniature Mashup. It is a grand old channel for the hobby and the inspiration for this very channel. Danny does some really amazing things there with HeroClix models, and he does it on the cheap and easy. So if you want to take it further, check out Miniature Mashup. There's a link in the description below.
Okay. Before I go on to try to see what of these wonderful models I can get painted up and fully satisfactorily ready for my tabletop, our friend here, what is her name, Yukio, wants to give you a little bit of an object lesson. So I bought all of these, all 60 plus for $25, which makes them about 42 cents a piece. And I think I only got 50 of them based up, so now we're at 50 cents a piece, and the bases are 25 cents, so it's 75 cents each for these models. But at some time, our dear friend here was $7 at some comic store. So yeah, do not under any circumstances convince yourself that this stuff is like a investment or collectible or is going to hold its value, because the tides of these games change and their values can drop like a rock.
First up, we have this fellow, and I didn't paint him at all. Just a new base, because the factory paint job was fine. I didn't feel like I was going to improve it much, so I left him, and with his new base, he is ready for exciting adventures in space! Here we have a C-list Batman villain, the Scarecrow. I did a little work on him, put on a couple of washes, I did up the eyes and teeth. He didn't really need much work, as he's already a pretty convincing Scarecrow. The model is perfect for a lot of roles and is a natural for fantasy gaming. He will be getting work as a medium construct in Frostgrave. Now, Darkseid here is a childhood favorite of mine, so I decided to keep the color scheme as is. I just added some highlights and a wash here and there to make him pop and stand out a little bit better. I did work on those deadly eyes of his because, you know, Darkseid. I will probably be summoning him up as a major demon in Frostgrave because I have no shame, really. Next up, we have a character called Fury. There are a lot of comic book characters called Fury, and this one is a demon, and a no-brainer for fantasy gaming. Again, I just added some washes and highlights to liven up that flat original factory paint job, and bango! She has to be the most ideal shadow demon I have ever come across. I do not know who this lady is, but I do know she's ready for a space adventure! And again, I added some washes and highlights, as well as doing some work on her face. Nothing too fancy. And she has a lot of character. I think I'll be hiring her onto my Stargrave crew. In space, all you need is a zap gun and a Speedo. Again, this little green henchman got some washes and highlights. The original paint job was kind of sloppy, so I had to crisp it up. And now he's ready for his new and exciting career as cannon fodder. As I'm sure you're starting to guess, a lot of these HeroClix models just need washes and highlights to amp up those flat factory paint jobs. Killer Croc here is no exception. This model is perfect for use as a swamp troll in whatever game calls for some swamp trolls. I originally thought that this fellow was Thor, but no, he's a different character called Thunderstrike, because, you know, originality. In his case, I changed up the color of his pants and shirt in order to get away from that superhero onesie jumpsuit look. I really didn't like that. Now he is ready to be a disposable thug in my Frostgrave warband. This fellow is known as Bulldozer. Although there are a lot of characters with very similar MOs in the comic book world. Again, I changed up the colors of his top and bottom to get away from that onesie look. I'm not sure what I'm going to use him as, but I do like the model. He is a lot of fun. For these two models, I covered over that original comic book style paint scheme, and since they appeared to be moving through a wall, I leaned into the classic ghost color style instead. It's not rocket science. Obviously, they will be getting work as various ethereal undead in the not too distant future. I gave this rather generic looking superhero the same kind of color scheme, and while now he looks like a knockoff Dr. Manhattan, I'm planning to use him as the strange anti-magic monster from Frostgrave known as Neithermen. Despite being in a bodybuilder flex pose, I think he's adequate for the job. Finally, it doesn't take a brainiac to realize the original paint scheme on this model was a horrendous eyesore. I toned it right down and went with something more suited for a robot. A great big giant smart robot, but a robot nonetheless. I am planning to use him as a large construct in Frostgrave.
but the sculpt itself is kinda wild, and he could easily do double duty as some kind of major demon. And there you have it. That is what I managed to get ready for the table. As for the rest of them, they will go into the hopper and be finished in good time. There's some real potential in some of these. At any rate, I think it's time for a monster fight. Tonight's match features this mighty Batman villain, the Killer Croc, a former Navy SEAL, once known as Waylon Jones, versus this savage she-demon, possibly known as Fury. I don't know. There are a lot of superheroes called Fury, and I couldn't figure it out. Who will win? Only the old bones know! Well, those are strange results. Almost obscene.
Whoa! I can't show that. This is a family show. Well, I mean, the analytics tell me that all my viewers are men over the age of 35, but my mom watches this. Whoa! I can't. No, I'm sorry. I can't show that. I mean, this is monster fighting, not monster. Oh!
And there you have it. We all knew she was gonna come out on top.
Oh, hey! I would just like to take a moment to thank my channel members, Mark and Lauren, for your support. I really appreciate it. And if you would like to support the Monster Painter with some money, just hit that members button down there, and you too could have digital badges, early access to Monster Painter videos, a monthly Monster Painter members exclusive monster fight, and the dark secrets of forbidden gods!
The endless struggle with my painting table continues. Oh dear God. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, share the video, and ring the bell! Ring the bell!
Watching Les the Monster Painter.